Welcome back, everyone. The WTC live studio is back again. We are here for the beginning of the final round of the WTC.
And it's a big
Joker
one.
is trying to do something. Okay, he's moving the camera. So we are here for the final round of the World Team Championship, an event that in its magnitude, in its scale, can be compared to, I don't know, the WrestleMania of 40K, the Olympic Games of 40K. I don't know, any other expressions, probably not, but these should define it, should describe it pretty well. Now, we have some exciting matchups coming up because up until now, it is still undecided who is going to take the top spot. So, how did the previous round go, if we wanted to summarize it a little bit?
So Poland pretty much put their stamp down on the map with a big, convincing win over Spain, putting them 1 point in the lead above all other teams. We had England narrowly miss out on a win, but you could argue a pretty justified draw into USA.
Although by only 2 points.
By 2 points, but 2 games went against England, but you could also argue 2 games went for England. Maybe even argue 3 in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, Poland doing things.
Yeah, they were doing their chant.
So yeah, we do currently have so England and the United States drew. Poland won their games. Currently on the War Games live stream, we've got what could be considered the championship game. Poland winning here against England would cement them as the top spot. An English win does not necessarily get them the front spot. But Poland controls its own destiny essentially at this point. The other game that's important to this situation is going to be the United States and Sweden. The United States is currently 12 points behind Poland after their draw with England. So if this goes to a draw between England and Poland, we could start to see points come in in a big way. It does require also for the United States to win their game. But at the moment, England needs, in order to win the event, a pretty sizable win. And for the United States to lose or draw against Sweden to take first overall. England is about 42 points behind the United States and 54 points behind Poland. So there's like quite a bit of ground that needs to be made up in order to win on points differential alone, essentially.
What is the difference between England and Sweden?
2 points. But
So, actually, if Sweden were to beat USA,
yes.
they would actually leapfrog England.
Yes. So there's like a lot of different scenarios essentially now for like how this could play out. We do essentially have a top 4 that all control their own destiny a little bit, but Poland is really in the driver's seat for trying to take the number 1 spot at the World Teams Championship.
So I spoke to Adam Camilleri. For anyone who might be interested in what games will be streamed on War Games Live, he said that a decision has been made that it's going to be Poland versus England that is going to be streamed, even though they do understand and they do see that there is interest in the other games, Sweden's game and so on. But they decided that they're going to be streaming the game where both of the teams, so both Poland and England, can actually decide their own fate, because in the other game, it is very much reliant also on what happens on the War Games Live streaming table. So they are going to go with this one. And Adam consulted me like which Polish players he should take onto the stream. So it's highly likely that we will see either Skark, so the Polish legend who actually tabled GSC with his guard with a score of 100-32, and he's like collecting scalps left and right. Or it could be Lesiu, who is the Polish Dark Angels player who brought a Land Raider Redeemer with him to the tournament. A list that is also quite unorthodox and might be interesting to watch. So yeah, look forward to that. But it all depends on who they get paired into and whether those games are interesting, because I'm guessing we don't want to see any more Eldar. We don't want to see any more GSC games. I mean, clearly these have been simply streamed already, and some of the Polish players have already been on stream as well. So it makes no sense to invite them again. So that's what's going to happen. We see
Pairings happening.
the pairings between Poland and England happening now. The captains with their laptops and so on. Nathan, can you describe that process a little bit? What does it look like? What's going on right now?
So right now, the way it's kind of working is they'll roll off to see who places an army first. I'd imagine Typhus has maybe done an episode on this, but a quick run through. One team puts an army forward. The opposing team puts 2 armies to play against it. And from there, the team that put the army forward picks one of those 2 armies to play. You rinse and repeat until you get to a point at the end where you have kind of 4 armies each. You then have 2 that effectively play each other, but you don't see those until the very end. And then you have a put forward gets 2 put against it. Put forward gets 2 put against it. They both pick those players. The ones not selected play each other, and then the ones, what we call in the hole, they play each other.
And then again, there is also this aspect of picking a table on which you are going to play. So it is kind of vital as well, because there are certain armies, like say Custodes, who prefer a more dense table where they can hide, where they can avoid the shooting lanes and not be shot off the table by, let's say, a well-built cow army, for example.
I will also say that currently Typhus is going to be focusing on making sure that we get continuous and consistent updates on the United States-Sweden game. Nobody is currently covering that game, but our own Zavila will be running around covering that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so if you're into that stuff, if you're into the Sweden game, then Typhus should be the one providing all the details here on this channel.
Yep, so we'll be getting all those details. We'll do all the coverage towards the end of the event. I know that Wargames Live will have coverage during occasionally pop up while they're also doing a live stream of the England and Poland matchup. So everybody's going to get all the information as quickly as we can. I know somebody asked about it. We do have the Australia and Netherlands are doing pairings over there. You could see the Custodes spear earlier. I think it's still sitting out. They're still just in the process of doing pairings. But as soon as pairings start coming in, we will go through the pairings with you. Just going to take a few minutes.
I'm wondering, actually, because earlier today I watched a video from one of our sponsors, Marcus Miniatures, and Marcus, who is the owner of the company, said that essentially his contribution to the show is the main award. Do you know what the main award is?
I do not.
It's that spear.
Oh!
So apparently it's his company that made that spear, and it's a traveling award. So he told me that they have, I mean, he told me, it was a video that I watched, but he said in that video that his company has like 40 3D printers, and all of them were running at the same time to print that spear, and then they airbrushed it and sprayed it and added some paint with paint brushes and so on and so on. So it's an amazing thing to have and take home, definitely.
Now I'm going to ask Nathan about the mission for this one to kind of get his feeling for it. So we have Taken Hold, Chilling Reign again, and Search and Destroy. And then I need to look up Search and Destroy for its. Because I know a lot of people know only the quarters. On the 22.
What's the mission called again, sorry?
Search and Destroy deployment with priority, or Taken Hold, rather. Chilling Reign, so no extra nonsense.
Oh, yes, this is the straight out the box mission.
Yep.
5 points for every objective.
Yeah, I think
maximum 15. That's it.
They meant it
Nothing
so that it's actually skill of the players. The army choices decide who wins, not any random game conditions. Mm-hmm.
But does this favor any of the specific faction builds that we're seeing? Kind of, it's more of a more standard kind of mission. Do you just kind of play a game of 40k, or are you kind of like? Or are there specific factions that are favored in this situation?
So for the primary aspect, yes, there's nothing better than effectively you need board control. So obviously it'll always favor board control armies. But then again, when you come to events like this, you always have to build into your list the ability to score on primary objectives anyway. So while some armies might suffer in that aspect and lean more into damage, yeah, it's as standard a mission as possible.
Yeah, so probably the choice of the table that you mentioned is crucial here, because if you brought an army that is supposed to shoot then you will look for a table that has shooting lanes. If you brought an army that wants to hide, you will look for a table that is dense and has a lot of terrain on it. So I think nothing fancy is happening with the objectives in this mission as well.
No.
Right. So it's as simple as it can be, again, so that the army choices, the skill, the terrain can help them decide the winner.
I'm just seeing if any pairings have updated essentially in the last couple seconds. We did get an update from Typhus that the pairings process is going pretty slow. There was 7 minutes of thinking before first defender was placed out just a second ago. So
does this surprise us? Yeah.
Take your time. The last thing you want to do is get this wrong.
Because there are a lot of scenarios now, like we talked about. Yes. A lot of different possibilities for placements. There's a lot of different possibilities for winning. The only team that is fully in control of its own future is essentially Poland. Everybody else kind of has to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, but this is like the pinnacle of team gaming, and this is where all the pieces of the puzzle come together. It's the team building, so assembling a team of players who know what they are doing, who can withhold the stress, who can withstand the stress, who have the resilience to play in War Masters and then in the singles event and then in the teams event. It's selecting the right coach or coaches if you have plenty, and the right captain who right now is probably playing the crucial role not only of making the right pairings, but also of boosting the team's morale and so on before the final game, so that no one is stressed out and so on. Then we have another piece of the puzzle are the army selections, as we mentioned, and it's all coming together now. Also, the work that the coaches have put in at the event, not before, but at the event, meaning all the research that they do, because the role of the coaches, as we know, maybe you could explain what the coaches do.
Yeah, so again, super useful leading up to the event, but even on the day, they're responsible for gathering information. They're responsible
for spying.
Some of it is, to an extent, it's much easier now that most of it's online.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the results of each individual game, whereas back in the Black Ages, where we had to basically try and find paperwork that people had submitted, it was impossible.
But it's interesting because on one hand you say that we are out of those dark ages where technology was hidden, or it was more difficult to find out what the enemies will be bringing and so on. But at the same time, we are further in the future now. But most high-level teams actually decide to bring even more coaches than before. Yes. So the role, the coaches during all the games on all the days, not only support their own team, but since the games last 4.5 hours, I think it's
in the 4.5 hour time.
I mean, now it's 4 hours probably for the final round or final rounds today, but before on earlier days it was 4.5 hours. So they have all the time in the world to actually walk around the room and research what the teams with wacky lists are doing, how those players are actually using those lists. So one such example was Jack Harpster's Grey Knights list. That was a complete, to many it was an enigma. The same goes about Spain's Blood Angels list, a list that no one else has brought. It's the single Blood Angels list at the tournament, which you would assume would lose a game against Custodes, for example, but we know of a factual victory 20-0 of that Blood Angels list against Custodes. So the role of the coaches of the teams that are pairing now was to go either watch the stream or go to that table and see what is it about those Blood Angels that actually is able to defy all the defensive traits, all the defensive capabilities of Custodes, and basically, crush them.
So I'm going to go through some other kind of interesting pairings, since we're kind of waiting for the matchups, I should say, instead of pairings. We're going to go through some matchups real quick. So we obviously have Poland versus England. We also have Germany versus Spain. We have Australia versus the Netherlands, which could potentially play for a podium position depending on a bunch of different factors. There's a ton of things that could go on at this point.
Tasty.
Norway and New Zealand are playing, which should be very interesting. Norway, a team that put in a lot of work. New Zealand, a new team that has been pairing exceptionally well. Canada is going to play Italy. Scotland is playing Denmark. Cyprus and Bulgaria actually already have their pairings in. They're the only matchup that has their pairings in.
That was quick.
So it's going real fast. Then we have the U.S. versus Sweden. And I think that's it for the immediately interesting ones that are popping out to me. Belgium versus France as well.
That's a nice one.
Which should be very interesting. There's a lot of close relationships.
That's almost like a
between those
derby.
two teams.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot going on this round that's still interesting. Outside of the two most podium shaping matchups of the round. We are still very early in the round as well, as we're only 15 minutes in according to the timer. I don't know if that time is 100% accurate. So we are still waiting on pairings to come in from everybody else. We do have Typhus kind of watching around, so we'll get pairings from that as soon as it happens. He does say that the tension is very high. Nobody's even laughing at dad jokes about Chilling Reign and stuff like that. Not a single smile.
It might be that the dad jokes are just terrible, but
he says it's just very serious, all business kind of attitudes right now.
We can imagine.
Which, in some years, right, the podium had kind of been decided already before the final round. So it's good for us, right? Because we have something interesting to talk about aside from somebody having already won.
Yeah,
but it's probably extremely stressful for all the teams.
It's going to be a nail biter until the very end, which I think is what we want at events like that.
Yeah, and I think Poland last year, they were in basically the same position as this. They needed a draw or a win to win the whole thing, and they narrowly lost out to Australia last year. So obviously England hope that might be the case again, but I think Poland really, really wants it this year.
So tell us about England's preparation against Poland, if that's not a secret. Poland has some strange solutions. They brought Tau, that might be considered uncommon. They have, as I mentioned, Dark Angels list with a Land Raider Redeemer that you don't really see a lot as well. Was it difficult to crack this nut open and essentially understand what the lists do?
Yeah, from what I've talked to coaches and captains, it seems like the Matrix is a very difficult one, but as it always should be with top teams, the Tau doesn't seem to be as much of a concern. It doesn't seem to have been performing crazily well. It's not 20-0ing certain armies, say like Sean Naden's mid list has been. It seems to be getting 10-10s, small losses, the occasional 13s, 11s. So maybe that's less of the concern. The Dark Angels definitely super played well. Again, it doesn't have any indirect either. It doesn't have the Desolation Marines. Almost all of the Marine armies here probably do.
I think it has a single Thunderfire cannon.
Yeah, for slowing things down.
A unit about to be legends. A unit that's about to be legends.
Yes. But yeah, other than that, the meta is relatively similar. Both have Guard, both have Thousand Sons, both have Custodes, both have Eldar, both have GSC, both have... That's what I'm thinking of. Oh, we've got CSM, they've got something else.
Thousand Sons, GSC...
Should I open up these team
Dark
makes
Angels, Guards with Spark.
We've got
Tau.
I thought there was only two differences.
We have Astra Militarum, Tau, Thousand Sons, Eldari, Gene Stealer Cult, Necrons, Custodes, and Dark Angels.
Good, of course.
Yeah.
That's Poland. And then I think you already went over England's.
Yeah. So we have 5 of the same armies, then 3 different choices. Yeah, but some doing similar roles.
So
which isn't uncommon. A bunch of the teams coming to similar solutions to similar problems kind of makes sense. The teams have all practiced a bunch into each other, into the missions, so they know what lists they're kind of looking for. And what we've heard a lot in Creme de la Creme and then also on Enter the Matrix is that the first 5 factions are pretty easy to pick, and then it's the next 3 factions that are really hard, and that's where you get into the differences between teams.
It does seem to be, it's an obvious pick for Eldar GSC. pretty much everybody taking Marines. Custodes are pretty auto-tech. If you've got a good 1,000 Suns player, they're an auto-tech, and then the rest is flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, after seeing this event, card have been good.
Yep.
I wish we'd have taken Orcs.
Yeah.
Maybe even more than the CSM.
Yeah, they seem to be playing nicely in the board control sort of game. Pumbaa struggled a lot against Orcs, for example. So yeah, it definitely is a good call.
Yeah. Nice. The Nids, I've actually been relatively impressed by Tyranids. So I think Bobo's done a great job for England, getting a decent point pretty much every game.
And Sean Naden, of course, as well.
Yeah, and Sean Naden as well with his list, which they actually went more down a prey type hit list. But yeah.
There are some differences in philosophy behind list design, but the overall factions that have been picked are kind of very similar, right?
Yes.
And because even the Eldar lists are different among a bunch of the different factions. The Eldar list being piloted by England has 2 Wraith Knights, right? Which
And an Avatar.
and an Avatar of Cain, which aren't common features to other lists. A lot of other lists are taking single Wraith Knights, maybe 20 Wraith Guard. Some of them have the Yinkarn. Some of them have Prisms. Like, there's a good mix of like unit composition within a lot of the different factions. That changes across some of them. Like, there are a few builds that are a little bit more samey, but mostly we're seeing like some internal faction variability.
Yeah, GSC is predominantly the same. It's either whether you take a unit of Aberrants or you don't take a unit of Aberrants.
I will tell folks that the pairings are going very slow.
Yeah.
Cyphus just told us that they've only gotten the 3rd defender so far, so we still have like more than half of the picking to go through.
So it's perfectly understandable. If you're a fan of wrestling like myself, then what we are currently seeing is those 2 wrestlers circling each other in the ring, sort of trying to figure out how to make the first blow. What should it be? Should it be a suplex? Should it be a slap against the chest? Should it be a punch in the face or a big boot to the face? And all those options are good, but yeah, the opponent is also unpredictable.
Since Simon Frost asked, I'm going to go through the top 10 placements real quick just for folks. I don't have the total, but you can find these on Best Coast Pairings. You can find it if you look up the WTC event. In first place right now, we have Poland, who has 1 draw, 5 wins. We have the United States in second with 4 wins and 2 draws. We have Sweden in third with 5 wins and a loss. And then we have England in 4th place with 4 wins and 2 draws. We have Australia actually in 5th in 4 wins, a draw, and a loss. The Netherlands in 6th with 3 wins, 3 draws, so undefeated. Germany at 4 wins, 2 losses. Spain in 8th at 3 wins, 2 ties, and a loss. Belgium in 9th at 3 wins, 2 ties, and a loss. And then France at 4 wins and 2 losses. And you can, of course, go and take a look. There are, of course, 36 different teams currently at the event, 2 of which are UN teams that are predominantly made out of 1 country. And if you want to kind of look at the whole standings or to find where another country is, you can go to BCP or Best Coast Pairings, rather, and you can take a look at the standings by looking up the WTC. I'm going to hit. It looks like some of the meetings are breaking up, so we'll see if we've got some pairings in to talk about.
Yep.
England and Poland are still at the table, kind of waiting. Nothing really has updated yet, and we don't have anything quite yet from our field reporter either. So
yeah, Nathan, what would be, I don't know, a pairing that you wouldn't like to see in the game of Poland versus England?
I have a better question, I think, more about fundamentals of WTC. Because the pairings process is kind of like...
Screw your question.
Yeah, screw your question, Tomek.
Go home, Tomek.
No, I think Chad actually asked a question that a lot of WTC things don't talk about, which is how the pairings process actually works. I wish we had one of the mats right now, because I think that helps illustrate this a little bit better.
Yeah.
But like a lot of podcasts talk about pairings and like don't talk about any details about pairings, in part because there's like a little bit of secrecy involved in like your secret sauce for pairings. But can you walk us through kind of like how the pairing process goes from start to finish?
Yeah, so it usually starts with how you built the team.
I mean, like
The actual process, yeah. So the actual process is each team picks one of their 8 armies, puts it down as first defender. It's done face down. You reveal at the same time.
So imagine that you have, like, if we really want to go into technicalities, you have a bunch of cards that represent the factions. So usually, like on the face, you have the faction that is there. I think that the teams have been supplied with identical groups of cards, and they could pick the 8 that they have to use in the pairing system. And then they pick one of those cards, they turn it face down, and that's their defender.
Yes.
What then?
And both teams reveal who their first defender is. And at that point, both teams then decide which 2 attackers they would like to put into that defender.
So they slide 2 cards face down towards that one card that is the defender.
Yes.
These get revealed. What happens next?
So both teams reveal simultaneously which attackers. Then usually the captains pick up those cards and then decide as a team which of those 2 armies your defender is going to place. So say, for example, Nathan puts down orcs, I put down Tyranids. I'll now give you Eldar and
1,000 Suns.
1,000 Suns. Let's say that.
I'm going to pick 1,000 Suns.
Yeah. So you'll see your 2 cards, I'll see your 2 cards. You'll go, I'll pick 1,000 Suns. Now, you hand me back my Eldar card. That goes back into our thing. And then you rinse and repeat until you get towards the end. Then it gets a little bit more complicated, where at the end of the pairings, when you have roughly 4 armies each, so basically you have 2 rounds of that. That gets rid of 4 armies from each player, each team. Then the last 4 armies, you both put forward a defender. You both put 2 armies against each of those. So 3 of your armies are out on the table. And that 4th army goes to one side. That army then plays whatever that person is, but that is not revealed until the very end, because you still have to pick the 2 attackers to that. So in the last pairing, say for example, you refused my Eldar. Say for example, you'd also given me Eldar and Tyranids. I could then go, I'll refuse Eldar, thinking you're going to refuse Eldar. So say for example, that then means my Tyranids plays Tyranids, your Orcs plays 1,000 Suns, but our Eldars play, and our 2 Custode armies that we left in the last game, they then play each other. So what you might see newer teams or maybe weaker teams at pairings do is think that they've dominated the first few rounds of pairings. They go, we put down Tyranids, and they go, Nids and Genestealer. Sorry, Eldar and Genestealer Cone. Okay, we'll take the Eldar. Our next pairing, we'll put 1,000 Suns down. Here's our Custodes and the GSC that you turn back. Okay, we'll take the GSC. What actually happens is the better teams bully the end of pairings. So what you want to have is armies are taken out of your matrix to the point. So if you put down Eldar as an attacker early, I take Eldar out, I've just taken a massive row of reds out of my pairings matrix.
So the meaning of those army choices in those pairings is twofold. First one is, well, who's going to play one another, but then the second implication is who's not going to play one another. So it's important to secure that. For example, if you really don't want to play Eldar, you need to come up with a good defender that your opponent might want to put Eldar into. If they do, you can select Eldar, and then you don't have to worry about Eldar anymore.
And then the second layer of this is terrain, obviously, right?
Yes.
And tables.
And then who picks the terrain and tables, and how does that work?
Defender picks a table first. You still technically roll off, because the way it kind of works is the person who wins the roll off, and the other team gets the next 2, and then it's the last one, and then the last one is just predetermined.
You rotate basically who gets to pick.
To anyone tuning in just now, first of all, apologies, because in a moment you're going to hear a really, really, really loud shout from Team England that is standing 5 meters away from us, and that they're going to do their chant. And if you're listening closely, you've probably heard like 5 or 6 other chants already from the remainder of the room, because it has now become a tradition that teams gather in a circle just to wind themselves up a little bit before they go into the game. So yeah, they like the coach builds up the tension, builds up the atmosphere, and then they chant like you might have heard a second ago. So
Referees, actually.
no, that was the referees.
Screw
them all.
The referees do sometimes get involved in the case.
Right.
So we're gonna wait just a second because I feel there's actually like a hype thing going on.
Yeah, that wasn't too strong. Yeah. Seeing that they definitely do it.
Nathan, make them do that again.
So disappointing.
Come back, redo it.
Redo that. We need it done again. All right, let's see if we've gotten any pairings entered. I don't
How are
think
you going to have 6 extra coaches here? Why is this one?
that does sound a little English, though. I suppose.
Yeah.
That was.
I think Poland is going to do the same now.
Oh boy.
So the English are slowly going towards their tables.
Make that a little bit more dramatic. I won't lie.
Every time they do
Don't
it,
be
I
too
get shivers.
biased.
Every time they do it, I get shivers because Polish vulgarisms are like the strongest ones in the world, I think, and they always shout something that no one else understands, but I
Well, the USA, of course, had to try to be the loudest.
do. Yeah.
I believe that is 1-0 to Poland. So chat the game in the event.
We get the +10 for painting and +1 for the shout.
Chomik, do you want to switch?
We'll move.
Yeah, make sure that Nathan can get it in a microphone. Oh, there we go.
All right.
So,
Whose pairings do you have?
How bad is it gone?
I have the USA pairings because I want to leave those for a little bit moment later, and partially because I do not have them. But how it looks now is USA defended first round with Deathwatch, which makes sense because when they were talking about that army didn't perform as well and didn't really have good matchups, and Sweden attacked it with their own Deathwatch and Chaos Knights, which I think it was a correct choice from USA to take the Chaos Knights, get a small loss on their choice of a table, and leave higher points for Deathwatch later.
Pairings.
But at the same time, Sweden defended with Custodies, which were attacked with GSC and Tyranids, which I find slightly interesting because I don't think GSC can reliably win this matchup.
No, I think they've obviously looked at it and gone, Sean Naden has smashed Germany's custodians.
Yes. So surely not taking Sean. So they used GSC early. Then Sweden went with Imperial Knights next defender. So I overheard the conversation from US. They basically threw Eldari and an army that had quite bad pairings according to them, which was in this case Chaos Space Marines, just to make sure that they either get the 20 or a weak army is out of the system. Then we have Grey Knights, which were attacked by Necrons and Space Marines, which is weird because there's already 2 records of Jack playing against Necrons, one being 13-7 win for Jack, the other one being 11-9 win. So this seems maybe like trying to avoid Necrons.
Yeah, just like those two just go try and get a draw out of each other.
Yeah, not going for a win. Then in the last 4 matchups, as this is usually very interesting, you need to look into what are the possible outcomes if you defend with something and if opponent defends with something. So you need to go through multiple combinations of what are the possibilities of a given defender. So USA defended with Nits, and at the same time Sweden defended with Deathwatch. And USA Nits were attacked by Orcs and Craft Wards, and it was decided that it's better for the team to take Craft Wards now because it was a table choice for Nits, and it is one of those that has 2 big ruins just side by side. So they figured if Sean can get points out of somewhere, this is this one. They had priority in terms of choosing the table, so perfectly sensible. Then Deathwatch was attacked by Craft Wards and Custodies, so Custodies should win against Deathwatch, and Craft Wards also. So the idea was that
Take the Eldar out.
take the Eldar out, then This means that the armies that were rejected, in this case Custodes and Orcs, played together, which left USA Orcs into Swedish GSC at the very end, which I think is what essentially USA wanted. Because like the whole pairing, when you look at it, they defend with Death Watch. Then they defend with Grey Knights. Then they defend with Knits, making sure that in those matchups, GSC will not be put forward. So this looks like their whole plan was to prey on GSC during the match pairing process. But Sweden had one way to escape it, and that was to, against Grey Knights, attack with GSC and something else, and make sure that USA has to take GSC. But it seems like they didn't foresee it in the whole process. So it looks, when I was looking over the games, it looks like 5 potential wins for US, 2 wins for Sweden, and 1 drawish matchup.
Sure, and look at the Chaos Knights. It's not a massive win against Death Watch, so even the Swedish win is not huge. The USA CSM versus Sweden IK, it can be volatile if those obliterators just whiff against big knights.
Which could happen.
Yeah,
but he has 10 Terminators,
yes,
which with Nurgle Strat is quite useful.
Yes, and Abaddon he can one-shot a knight in combat as well. Maybe less so with the -1 damage, but you have to be careful in that matchup that you hide Abaddon, because the last thing you want to do is have your character, big knight, run in, do loads of mortals, and then
Die.
precision out Abaddon. So you have to kind of make sure Abaddon's behind a ruin to hide from precision shots.
Anything else?
Yeah, that looks like a win for USA from initial reactions, but to be honest, they haven't always been correct. It's still, Sweden has 2 big upsets this tournament.
I will also say that we've said that the United States has won pairings now 3 times in a row, and 2 of those they were winning early and then lost late. Now, this mission is more standard, so there can't necessarily be like a lot of late surges in primary scoring. So it might be, unlike the first couple, that they're more able to keep that close, right? I do have pairings for Poland and England. I don't know why Typhus is running away, because I already have them, but that's okay.
It's like you have a laptop.
I'm just going to start doing them. And Typhus can come back at any point, I suppose.
Or Joker,
Joker, can you tell him that we have the pairings?
Yeah.
Or is he trying to grab us for grab an interview or something?
Anyway, in the meantime, I'm trying to figure out who's going to be playing on the streaming page.
Oh, is he bringing the sheet over? I was going to say, we have the pairings, Typhus. We have them. I have them. Adam grabbed it for us. So I'm going to read this in the best way I can possible, because this is phrased in unless you want the play-by-play version of this, which could be fun, I suppose.
I think we should.
You want to do the play-by-play? All right. So England defends with Custodes and Poland defends with Necrons on the first drop.
Not surprising.
The roll-off goes to Poland. Poland offers Astartes and Astra Militarum. England takes the Astra Militarum. So that'll be...
No surprises there.
That'll be Custodes into Guard.
Yeah. To give a quick comment on this. Yes.
England Custodes.
So, to give a quick rundown on this one, our Marines were designed to counter Custodes. It was a list that was made to win this matchup, which Leszuk has proven multiple times. So that one we wanted to get. And the other one, Guard into Custodes. You guys have Caladiuses, which can help out depending on the
little
board.
bit. It's still heavily in.
It is not a good matchup for Custodes. No. I think Skark, already 22 Custody players. I think Josh has a little bit better matchup.
Yeah.
But it's still bad.
Josh is not dumb enough to chase the game. He's going to play as finicky as possible, reserve a lot of things, try and get some points where he can. But yeah, it should be a reasonably high win for Skark.
He knows it's a losing matchup for him.
Yes.
Into into Polish Necrons. England offers GSC and CSM. Poland takes Gene Stealer Cult.
Okay.
Any comments on your end?
It's a little bit in GSC favor, but it's not a huge win. That it's not in the same way that Guard will beat the Custodes.
Yeah, and CSM was a little bit better into Necrons, but at the same time, this way you get GSC early out of the pairings, although our
Yes.
team was quite good into GSC.
For
overall.
sure, yeah. I think that's maybe why they've thrown the GC forward. They're not that interested in keeping them behind, and Poland would rather probably keep CSM in the pairings for later. So
They have some bad matchups.
Okay.
The next one is Poland is defending with Custody, and England offers Gene Stealer Colt and Chaos Space Marines. And then Chaos Space Marines is
so Gene
accepted here.
Cold already gone.
Guard and
Poland is defending in this situation.
Right. Isn't it the second time they're offering?
It's Poland Guard versus England Custodies.
yes.
Okay.
Should I grab the sheet?
Go grab the sheet because maybe
Yes.
this is a little confusing now.
Adam did
The way
best,
the way
but-
that this is phrased is perhaps a little bit ambiguous as well because of notes. But we are currently working on getting the sheet so that we can come over and do it. It shouldn't take very long.
What is Nas playing?
Nassim is playing Death Watch.
So we have Thousand Suns into Death Watch, definitely.
Yes.
And it's going to be an exciting game to watch. Pumbaa versus Nassim. I mean,
Nassim just did very well, and Deshaun Naden as well. So it'll be interesting to see if. And Nassim has kind of been a little bit of a fulcrum across a couple matches at this point, and him being able to scrape a lot of points off of his opponents in otherwise what are considered bad matchups have been key to several of England's good performances.
All right.
how do I read this?
So they, for first defender, it was Necrons, and Poland accepted Guard. So it'll be Necrons into Guard. Poland into England, right? Accepted? Like that?
That one is also wrong.
Or is it this way?
Yeah, it seems so. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So
they
it's Crons into Gene Stealer Colt. This is my first time seeing one of these pairing
yeah
sheets.
they it's incorrectly filled. So
So Necrons into GSC. That's Poland Necrons into English Gene Stealer Colt.
okay, that one seems drawish.
Okay.
And then we have English Custodes into Polish Astra Militarum.
As we said, in favor of Guard.
And then we have Poland Custodes into English CSM.
That's the one on stream.
That's the one on
Yeah,
screen.
and what was the other attacker?
Guard.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, fine.
The next one is English T-Sons. And the
They
two
defended.
are defending,
with
yeah.
decent.
The next one is T-Sons with Gene Stealer Colt and Tau. And then Tau were accepted. So it'll be
So I
England.
think England thinks they'll get a win out of that,
Yes.
which I think Vic is maybe a good enough player to know that.
Yeah, I think this
And
should
pull
be
that
a small win for Decents from what I saw. I think maybe
She
Tau
does not
weren't
always-
as useful at this point in the pairings, so they were just thrown away to conserve the better armies for later.
The next two defenders are going to be Eldar.
Yeah.
Poland, Eldar, England offered Tyranids and Guard.
Okay.
And
I'm just gonna put something against
Poland accepted Tyranids.
Yeah,
It'll be
it.
Polish Eldar into
I can see
English
Guard.
Tyranids.
I can see Guard going first, doing enough damage to make the game.
Yeah, it's not worth the risk. The Nids is a pretty comfortable smash.
Yeah.
Nids might get a couple of points.
Yeah, from my experience in testing, this is a matchup that you can aim up like maximum of 5 with Nids.
Yeah, we've had
And-
like max 4.
And in this case, it's also craftward stable, so I think it makes it even funner. It's also,
That's on table 3. So
it doesn't say much to me, but I assume Duda took a table to just get his points.
the other one is Eldar, and then Marines and Gene Stealer Colt were offered, and England accepted Marines, so it'll be English Eldar into Polish Marines.
It should be a decent score for money, like 16 plus. Land Raider is not great against Brave Knights.
No, with no indirect, it's other than Thunderfire, it's the Avatar's going to have a bit of a field day. The Knights are still annoying.
I mean, Knights can kill the other
They can do.
quite handily. in fact.
Oh, with Manny's dice, but yeah. You remember Manny's Eldar are very different to other people's Eldar.
And Money's play style is very different to anything.
Yes, yeah.
So one of the matchups that's remaining is T-Suns into Marines. So
Well,
Death Watch into
well,
T-Suns, which is that
so
Pumbaa
Pumbaa-
versus Nassim matchup.
So Pumbaa versus Nassim.
Yeah.
And
the
then
two youngest looking guys, spicy.
The two baby faces.
The
The
two
two-
celebrities.
Two smack talkers.
Yeah.
and then it says the two rejected attackers are Gene Stealer Cult and Guard.
So my son,
We don't
so
have Scott. But
Alex got my son. We'll see. My son played it a lot against Skark to make sure Skark can win those games.
I'm going to have to drink a beer out of my shoe. Oh, no.
So now you should explain the bet.
Yes, please go into the bet and explain what it is about.
So Nathan and Typhus have a bet.
Yeah, so whoever of the teams here wins, if it's Poland, then Nathan will have to do a shoey. So on stream, at the end of the round, we'll be drinking a beer out of the shoe. If Poland wins, it's Nathan. If England wins, it's me. If it's a draw, we're doing it together in like a
I
nice
kind of
style.
want it to be a draw for the moment. I
Yeah.
won't lie.
I'm
Do
not
we know
feeling so
whose
confident
shoe?
now.
Do you
Yeah,
know
I
who the
think
shoe is
that-
going to
Are
be?
we gonna take
Like,
my
look-
shoe? They're
I-
waterproof.
looking at
so
the
they're
pair,
like extra fun.
I think it's looking in slight favor of Poland. Just
Yeah,
looking
your
at this,
wins are bigger than our wins. I think you've got 4 wins to our maybe 3, and then there's a draw. But your wins, some of your wins are bigger.
Yeah,
Your GSC wins are bigger.
I think it will be very interesting to see how the T-Suns from both teams perform.
Yes.
I think this will be a little bit where it comes down. I think in both games, T-Suns should be favored.
Yeah, I could. Nassim could pull something out.
But favored like 12-8, 13-7.
Yes, yeah. Vic, if he pulls a hero attempt, could get more points out of that game.
He was a
So-
hero last round.
Tau.
He could heroic this
So-
round too.
I want to ask you now, because now we can talk about all the
Yes.
preparation, what we've done. We haven't before, just to not spoil anything. Have you guys play tested the Tau? Our list. How many games have you guys played into it?
Vic has played it. Josh played it. I think Vic played it twice, actually. Not loads into the town, because it was a bit of a diminishing return
Yeah.
of, yes, you might have to play it if you want to beat Poland, but there were so many other pairings we had to get secured first, where the Tau maybe wasn't our highest priority. A
Yeah.
bit like we had to get a couple of games against the US Orc Army, but because hardly anybody took them, it's hard to justify putting 4 or 5 games
Yeah,
into.
And what was your scores from those games? Just out of curiosity.
So this is sometimes the problem with doing prep.
Yeah.
Is, do you have a good enough Tau player? And the likelihood is our Tau player is nowhere near as good as your Tau player. So what they might predict as what we call high black or a low yellow, which is like 12, 13, you might consider the other way around.
I think our player play tested. He lives in the same city as Pumbaa, so they play a lot against each other.
Sure.
So they played a lot against each other, and I think our estimations agree.
Okay.
I do not have the insights on the mission. I was super focused on the pairings.
It's the out the box one. 5 points an objective, that's it.
Okay. So
Max
I think you should have slight advantage in that matchup. I agree. It's
Yeah.
still a hard matchup in the sense that it's hard to push Tau for a huge win because they
Yeah.
have insanely good chuff. I think
Yes.
that army has the best chuff in the game.
Guys,
Yeah.
can you tell us something about the Necrons into GSC matchup? Like, who's favored in this one?
Okay, so there's math behind it. Statistically, if you're shooting 2 bomb squads into a 10-man squad of Lich Guard, you'll kill it. Barely, but you'll kill it. The problem is, if Necrons screen well enough, that if the first squad kills like 7 Lich Guard, you take them because they are spread out from one end, so the other bomb squad cannot shoot.
Yes.
And that's something that Lich Guard, and if that one happens, and I think Gito being our most precise player we have in our country, he will have that in mind. He also is living with Myson, I mean, living in the same city as my son, so he played it a lot. But this is a matchup that can be very swingy because even one bomb squad, if it goes insanely well with its shooting, can kill that Lich Guard squad. And there's also one other thing to mention. One of the Lich Guard squads has stealth. That one is way harder to kill with bombs because you're only hitting on 6s, not 5s.
So that one will be at the front. So that one's a little bit of a dicey game.
Very skillful.
Yes, nobody can make mistakes in that one on both sides. Any sloppy positioning from the Necrons, GSC can capitalize on any army better than most.
And Git already played at this event, GSC once, and I think he got 9 points out of it.
Yeah, it's not.
GSC
unless
are
something
better
really
at
big
secondaries.
happens. Yes, yeah, they're better at cards. So it's whether if the Necron player gets some pretty bad cards, he might get a bit of a.
I think it's card based, and the advantage for GSC is card based as well.
Yes.
That's my take on this matchup.
Yeah, so that's where, in actual primary, I don't see it being that dissimilar, really. There's going to be a jostle for the front, for the middle objective. Maybe it's slightly beneficial for GSC to go first, just to not have as much board space taken up by the Necrons.
And also, fight of Aberrants versus Lich Guard is very slog. Yes.
Yeah. But if he's happy to lose the Aberrant unit for
Space on the board.
Space on the board, somewhat cripple that unit a bit if he's.
Yeah, if you manage with Aberrants to kill like 4 or 5 from that Lich Guard squad, then suddenly one bomb squad can be sufficient to kill it.
Yes.
Which swings this game by a lot.
Yes. So we'll need Mike to probably pull out quite a lot of points in that game, but that's going to be super difficult.
What's your take on your Chaos Space Marines into our Custodians? Because I think like the world is saying that Chaos Space Marines are somewhat a counter into Custodians, and I'm curious, what do you think about it?
It's kind of a small win. That's one of the reasons we didn't take the Terminators. We took the slightly more shooting. We felt that actually in the games that you really wanted to play, the Terminators actually didn't push the score that much higher if you've got enough little scoring.
They seem like a good defensive tool.
Defensive tool, not offensive tool. So actually having the third big unit and the extra blitz, plus the actual little fast scoring, seemed like you could push the differential on the cards.
Yeah, and this is the case of playing teams, not singles.
Yes.
This is a choice that on singles you'd rather go with Anthony Vanella's list.
100%.
But for teams, your list has a tailor-made reason why they are like this.
So over the Terminators, you've got 2 more Blitz and the Predator. So that again adds, and then you've got Raptor units, things like that. Because we obviously don't have the Demons in this list because we used it in our Thousand Suns instead. Because we felt that Vic maybe put forward more often than he has been this weekend. The extra lone op and the disruption that the
T-Suns defender are great.
Yes, they're very good because they're such a high skill count. I'm interested to see.
And they cannot be prayed by Eldar, which makes a defender that will not be attacked by Eldar is a great advantage in the pairing process.
Yes, and that's where Vic put most of his playtesting time is into Eldar. I'm interested in your feeling on Pumba into Naz.
From our experience, Pumba had it as a small win, around 12-8, 13-7 mark.
Yeah.
With a potential of an upswing because Pumba has those 3 rhinos.
True.
Which is a problem for Naz to deal with.
That's more annoying, yeah.
Which was one of the reasonings for having more rhinos.
Yes.
And funny story, Pumba didn't know that after disembarking you can double move after moving until the very first day of tournament.
But he's been using it all weekend.
And then he was like, "What? My list, I took 3 rhinos, my list got infinitely better."
Sure.
So what do you guys think about Skarg's game? Skarg versus Josh. How is that going to go?
Josh is going to be holding on for some points.
I think if Skarg goes first, it can be a complete blowout.
Yes.
Because you need to place Caladius on the board.
Yeah.
And if they get killed, there's no more resources for...
What were the 2 things they put against Josh?
It was our Land Raider Redeemer list, and...
So what's that ended up playing? That's ended up playing...
Sorry?
What's your Dark Angels that ended
now
up playing?
He plays Mami.
Okay.
I think that's gonna be even after all.
but Eldar probably would have beaten something anyway. I'm wondering if maybe leaving Guard in the pairings. But the Guard is scarier. Skark's a very, very good player. Maybe it isn't worth it.
Yeah,
Because that seems like you've maybe taken a
unless you played it, and unless you at this event already, I think won 15-5 against Custodes, against a player who was really lucky on his rolls.
Yeah.
So I think there was a case of like 10-man Deathwing Knight blob charging Trajan and not killing him, which is rare to say the least. So it was a matchup that probably made more sense because we have other armies who are okay into our list, whilst Guard is genuinely a problem for nearly every army you do.
Yeah.
And even against Eldar, it can swing. Like if it goes first,
I'm just surprised England took what is most likely a 0, 1, or 2. It doesn't, and it's you've not taken out. You have taken out a very, very strong army, I guess, in pairings. But yeah, it's an interesting choice.
Okay,
maybe just didn't have much.
I think we've devoted enough time to this matchup. Now, I think the time has come for us to talk about
Australia versus
versus
the
the
Netherlands.
Netherlands, because that still also has a potential for a podium. Yeah, we need to give that back. So as I was saying, that Netherlands versus Australia still could give us a position on the podium. So, Nathan, off you go.
So the first pairing is Australia will always be the first one of these. So we have Australia's Eldar into Tau for the Netherlands.
yeah, Tau got bust.
Yeah.
There's like a very slight chance because if it's depending on the board, you can go for a very lucky play round 1, and if you see the Wraith Knight with 3 broadsides, you can spend all the resources, send Tetras, and just kill that one Wraith Knight with 3 broadsides.
Potentially, yeah.
And just try to be lucky and push the score this way.
The next pairing is Australia's Tyranids into Netherlands Genestealer Cult.
Oh, GSC is in no full spot.
Yeah.
I think Brody already played this at this event and got 19-1, and I would expect similar results.
If Brody goes first, it's not a game.
Nothing.
Or he has to set up so much of his army that his army's effectiveness gets reduced so bad. Especially with the Venom Phobe, stuff starts hitting on 6s, no exploding, no ignore cover. It's not good.
Next one is Genestealer Cult into Imperial Knights.
Oh boy, so far Netherlands seem like they have 3 bad matchups.
Yeah, that's too bad.
They messed up bad.
The next one is Necrons into Custodes.
Custodes favored.
Yeah.
No, it's Liam Hackett's second. So another good matchup for.
Yeah, that's good for sure.
But I think Netherlands is playing 3 10-man guard blobs. So if something can chew through the Necron Warriors, that's this list. So I'll be looking into it. I think this is one of the study lists that Liam Hackett might not be as favored as into others.
The next one is Imperial Knights into Eldar, which is a throw under basically.
Which is
for
rude.
So Rude will probably murder the Imperial Knights on
If you
Eldar.
get more than 0 as Imperial Knights, congrats to you.
Yeah.
The next one is CSM into Necrons.
CSM favored slightly. I think
Yeah,
Jeremy
huge win.
only has 4 obliterators, so it's a little bit better for Necrons, but it should be CSM favored.
I mean, it's Dick driving the Necrons, so
Yeah, as I said, okay, bigger win for CSM.
The next one is Chaos Knights into Deathwatch.
Chaos that's favored.
Favored Chaos Knights, yeah.
And then the last one is 1,000 Suns Mirror.
Oh,
Hardest game here.
I think the pairings alone, Netherlands are in the bin.
This feels like maybe Netherlands got 2 out of 8 pairings.
Yeah, they've got Imperial Knights.
One of them's Eldar, and the other one is like fine, and then one of them's a wash. Yeah, so it feels like Australia kind of dominated this pairing situation.
If Australia doesn't win it, probably some of their players had real accidents.
Yeah, and actually a big win there, and say England losing, Sweden losing. actually puts Australia ahead.
I think just barely.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think we're just we're in a waiting position for games to start rolling and for us to start getting information back. Poland versus England is going to be on War Games Live. We will provide continuous updates via War Games Live for the United States-Sweden matchups via Typus, and well, also via whoever happens to be conveniently nearby and get an update. We will also, and then we will provide updates on anything else that is interesting also via War Games Live until we come back towards the end of the round.
Okay. So
I'll go and grab two coaches from the only game that's because Poland is the only team that has their own fate in their own hands. I'll grab our head coaches.
all right. And in the meantime, let me encourage you to actually check out our Patreon because we now have one. And we are cooperating with the Army Painter. The Army Painter has provided us with a speed painting paint set that we will give away to anyone who signs up to our Patreon by end of today. So we've been mentioning this throughout our entries, just to be fair. We've been mentioning this for a couple of days now because this has been going on since the beginning of the event. And it's going to last until, let's say, midnight tonight. So whoever signs up to our Patreon will enter a raffle. And probably, I guess we can arrange it with Joker that one of our next episodes is going to be done live. And if we do it live, we can do the raffle live. So you can tune in and check out whether you won. So, check this out. Because, the paint set is amazing. And the Army Painter too is also amazing. They are the one of the main sponsors of the event, together with the Best Coast Pairings. So if you are curious where you can see the results trickling in, I mean, definitely not now, but in the 2 hours, 3 hours, I think, because the games last 4. So somewhere around the 3 hour mark, maybe we are going to start seeing some results trickling in. So BCP will be the place to go for that.
So we're going to see if we can get some coaches from somewhere. I'm not sure if we will be able to immediately or not, just because of the nature of this round. But if Types and Nathan are able to do it, we'll probably see somebody in just a couple of minutes. Otherwise, we're kind of just in the same waiting game as everybody else, which means waiting for results. Because this is going to be a very decisive round for deciding who will be on podiums and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll know fairly soon.
So what do you think? I mean, we had our experts talk about these matchups. How do you think it's going to go? What's your opinion on it? Go on. England, Poland. Just England, Poland.
No, we can have. We have our two coaches. Why don't we split? We'll have come in. How's it going?
Good.
Come sit down. Please take a seat.
Fantastic. How we doing?
We're doing great. So, why don't we get the two of you to introduce each other? We'll start with England and we'll go over to Poland. So just introduce yourself to the audience, as it were.
Fantastic. I'm Adam Lane. I'm one of the coaches for Team England this year.
I'm Max. I'm one of the coaches for Team Poland this year. Self-named golden retriever of the team.
Why is that?
You retrieve gold.
Well, thank you both for joining us. I know this is kind of like an important round, so we won't keep you for too long. But so the pairings happened. How do you feel going into the pairings? We'll start with Poland, and then we'll come over to England.
Right. So we are quite happy. To be perfectly honest with you, we are quite happy with the pairings. We thought Team England has taken a peculiar approach, to say the least. I think our take is that they sacrificed a lot to get a certain pairing. Can I be open about it?
Yeah, you can be open. Yeah, whatever you want.
Okay, so we.
It's not going to change or anything.
Yeah.
The pairings can't go anywhere.
They're not gonna receive the intel. I mean, we all know how it went, right? So yeah, we think that Team England gave up some pairings in order to catch our GSC with their Eldar list, which they had the option to, and they refuted it. So I'm not sure what happened there, but we are very happy. In chess, you have the Polish opening. You don't have the Polish defense yet. It's gonna be us figuring out Custodes' first defender. We are very happy that you guys started with that because we've been able to consistently shut that down. Have you guys checked Skark match history?
Yes.
So what was the thought process?
Oh, well, we can get England then. Let's hear how you thought pairings went.
Before I go into that, I think it's true that Poland are always confident. And we're confident when we beat them 110 points, they kind of said, we've won that round. So I think that needs to be borne in mind. There's volatility here, and I think if there's a number of go first or go seconds, that's going to massively swing this. So
Sure.
we were somewhat surprised Poland were willing to take the risk in what are going to be quite swingy matches. And frankly, if they draw, they've got a very high chance of winning this event.
Okay.
We're not quite downbeat, but we're definitely we think it's more drawish, but there's big swings out there.
Okay.
So it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting round.
Oh, yeah.
Watch.
That's kind of what you want too, right? From a
Of course.
round where
It's good for the observers. It's going to give us heart attacks. I think it's gonna go.
Oh,
I mean, it's going to give like several of my crew who are Polish heart attacks as
Well,
well.
you can see the sweating. They say they're confident, but there's very serious faces this side of the table. We're quite happy.
I just want to say, I asked my captains, should I be nice or should I trash talk? And they said 50-50. So all I'm going to say is,
You're doing neither. You're just being serious.
yeah.
You can trash talk as much as you want. It'll be
Okay, so
great.
Team England does worse in pairings that G-Dub's crew is at balance.
Oh. I don't know if you don't need to.
I don't need to. We'll see the tail of the tape.
I hope we know. Boy, am I gonna look
Somebody's gonna
stupid
get
if we're
smashed.
gonna get
It's gonna be one
rolled.
of the-
So, what's there England with this next question? I'm loving this dynamic. It's great. So, are you excited about any specific pairing?
Fine, excited, mate.
Which one do you want to see the result of most? It can be either because you want for team reasons or just because personally you think it's an enjoyable matchup that could be interesting to watch for a viewer.
I guess less trash talk. The volatile matches I think are going to be interesting to watch are the guard matches. They're going to be extremely volatile.
Sure.
The CSM match is going to be volatile. And I think Manny's match is going to be interesting as well, to see how that plays out. So that's where I see the swings.
So what do you two think about the Thousand Suns matchups? And I mean both of them.
What are the matchups?
So it's their Thousand Suns into Crazy, so our Tau.
Okay.
And then we have Pumbaa playing Nas. So it's Thousand Suns versus Nas is playing what, Space Marines?
We'll start with Poland. What do you
Guard,
think about
I think. Because CSM is on stream.
No,
Yeah.
but like, what is Nas playing?
He's playing Deathwatch.
It's playing
Oh,
good.
yeah.
It's Deathwatch in
Death-
So
Thousand
it's
Suns.
Deathwatch into
Okay.
our Thousand Suns.
Okay, makes sense.
So how do you feel about this one? Is this Max? Is this a desired matchup? Is Pumbaa ready for this, or is it
I
going to
hope
take
he
him-
is.
Or
I
is it
hope
going
he
to
is.
take him by surprise?
He looks very serious, doesn't he?
Pumbaa, yeah, like the smile is up his face. So.
Oh man, I can tell you,
Your smile.
he's had a rough round where last round he felt he could have scored a 20-0 victory while the rolls really didn't go his way,
Mhm.
to say the least, and he brought 5 from a game he feels he could have won based on his opponent's play. And then, like for us, Pumbaa is taking this very seriously, as you can imagine. He's the captain. He's the captain of the ship, right?
Yeah.
So he cares. In my opinion, he picked the right team. He's on a team.
He's a bit more.
See,
he's a bit more.
You can see the smile now.
The team draws that.
It's
out
the
of people,
Polish
though, too.
smile, but yes, you can see
Yeah.
It
it.
is a Polish.
He's all I'm saying. He's motivated to deliver
You're touching each other's nipples now.
They are.
for going
good luck.
for going first. Yeah, on the roll. It's a Polish tradition.
All right, Adam. Question to
I
you.
didn't really answer, did I?
No, you did. But your Thousand Sons of Vic playing into Tau, going into the pairings. What was your understanding of the purpose of the Polish Tau list, and is the Thousand Sons list the answer to that?
Great question.
I think it's an anti kind of custode, anti Space Marine body list on the face of anti T-Sons. And we know that. But we trust Vic as a player. So it's a question of player on player with the right terrain pick. Can he get the points? So we're not expecting a 20-0 from Vic on this, but it's kind of can he play for those points really? And I think it's fair to say when you look across the event, Tau, and I think also to be fair, most Space Marines have not been performing consistently at the levels people want. So to me, again, there's volatility there, there's uncertainty. It's going to be a really interesting watch, that one. So I think both are quite high skill, and at that point, that's where I trust Vic.
Okay. And one thing that is interesting to me because I've been following the WTC stuff for quite a while. Most recently, has been playing Eldar. Why did you put Thousand Sons in his hand?
In our view, it's not so much why not Vic, it was what's the purpose of Eldar. In our view, Eldar was the list which you can turn up the question smash with, and that's not Vic's approach. Vic's an extremely talented, detail-focused, win-by-one type of player. Of course, he can stretch a differential, but who do you want a list that can completely smash people's faces in? And the answer is obvious, it's Manny Cheap. So it's more why Manny as opposed to why not Vic. And Vic's very versatile as a player. He's probably has most Eldar reps of everyone in the UK, but I think this is just not his style of list. It's not his style of play. I don't think it is.
Okay. So England has Manny, but we brought our Scark. So
And Duda on Eldar. Yeah.
So what do you think about Skark's pairing? Is that something that you're actually happy with, or did you want to avoid that?
Oh yeah, we're happy. It's first defender. Sorry, it's first defender. Custodes, like we said, we were prepared for that. We thought it was going to be an approach, and we have gathered a good answer of a couple of answers into them. And first defender every time has been Space Marines and guard for us. They took guard every single time. Skark is, I believe, 40-0 into Custodes, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds.
So we are
this
pretty positive.
This isn't necessarily a game you want to, but it's kind of Skark has gone first. But Josh starts on the line, which he has, and he gets first. All of a sudden, Skark's got one turn to kill 18 Custodes, and that's not guaranteed with the buffs. And in that, all of a sudden, then Josh would have been in him. But I can see from here that Skark went first. That's definitely in Poland's favour. That one.
The Custodes player played it perfectly. I think that the setup online is the approach. This is the way to flip the matchup if you go 1st. So
And that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised. Poland's very confident, but on one dice roll, that could have been a total flip the other way.
Yeah.
So that while happy, I don't know why you'd be so happy with such a large swing. It's just it's a volatile thing. So.
A little bit low count.
I really disagree. Do we have more time?
Well, not so much.
You've been talking too much.
No, but
I apologize.
It's
I
less,
do that
it's
quite
less
a lot.
about that
I
and
do that
more.
quite a lot.
We want you to be able to participate in your team's actual part.
They're
as well.
fine. Our job's done now.
Okay, fine. Well, you guys can stay as long as you want then.
yeah, I actually had another question, which is both of the teams. No, because I want to say both of our guests have new
I'm
players.
touched by that association.
New players on the teams. So you have already mentioned Vic. I understand that you're happy with his performance,
Yep.
but you have more players. So that's Poland. So how do you? I know it's early because the tournament hasn't finished yet, but are you happy with the newbies? So to
I'll be
say?
happy if Chris gets to 20. Yeah, so we're happy. I mean, it's a learning phase. You need to blood in new players. You need to kind of see what it's really like. You need to see the whole thing. So we're happy. to win, I think WTC, I think everyone would admit you have to be a little bit lucky as well.
Mhm.
So it's an experience. So overall, we're happy.
Okay.
Definitely
good.
the triangle of things, right? You have to have skill, you have to have luck, and you have to have pairings in order to win at WTC.
Yep. All right. How about us? Poland. Victor is new. Crazy is new.
He was supposed to come last year, but yeah, I can vouch for our rookies.
Mm-hmm.
They're so reliable. I can vouch for them. They're ready.
Mm-hmm. All right.
They're ready, and they're gonna prove it.
Always confident.
Fingers crossed. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
fingers crossed for both teams, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's see how it goes. So, gents, I thank you. I guess we thank you.
Obviously, we thank
Yeah,
you.
we thank you. Go support your teams. Go do your job and scout
We'll
what the other
definitely be
people are
around
doing.
talking to you.
I'm sure
And-
this won't be the last conversation. Really, so.
Probably not. But we have other guests lined up. So yeah.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for having us,
Thank you.
guys.
Hi.
Guys,
Come
hello
sit
again.
with me.
Hi. Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Come
Yeah,
pull up
pleasure
close.
to meet
Oh,
you.
I know. It's very rare occasions.
So the high demand matchup that is actually not streamed anywhere, I think.
Yeah.
So we brought you in to tell us a little bit about what is going on. So we have Sweden, we have the United States. Can you guys introduce yourselves for our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Tyler Bortel. I'm a coach with Team USA. You can find me elsewhere on Best in Faction, The Next Generation on the Best in Tabletop Network. Real excited to be repping the Stars and Stripes today.
Sebastian Magnusson, coach Team Sweden. Follow Team Sweden and 40K on Facebook, I guess.
Absolutely.
So we've gone through the pairings process.
Yep.
First thing we always like to ask our guests is how they think the pairings process went. So we'll start with Sweden, then come to the United States. So how does Team Sweden feel about the pairings process?
We felt better about it before the pairing. And after. If I can put it that way.
It's the nail on the head.
How does USA feel about the pairings process?
We're feeling pretty good. Someone's always got to get bust, and this time it was Naden.
Okay.
Naden with his Tyranids went right into the Eldar, but it's also Naden.
Yes.
So we fully anticipate him to write down a 0 on the score sheet, and then we're going to walk back. He's going to say, I got a 12. And we're going to say, okay, Sean, whatever happened there, great for you.
Yeah, you're terrible at predictions. You're
Exactly. He's off. God.
So is there a pairing that you're most excited about from the pairing set? We'll start with Sweden. Either you want to see how it plays out, or you think it's like the most interesting matchup from your perspective?
For some reasons, I think our Necrons into the Grey Knights, not just because it's that spied upon Grey Knights, but also because I'm very interested to see how that game goes.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I personally am always real excited to see Lucas playing into GSC. That I, as a GSC main and his main practice partner as an orc player, we've run this matchup 15, 20 times, and seeing him execute it over and over and over again this weekend has been great fun. So hopefully he can close it out for a big score there.
Awesome. And then always a more painful question to follow it up with, and we'll start with USA this time. Is there a pairing that you're concerned about at all? Is there a place that you're worried about where it could flip because it's volatile or because it's in a negative matchup that you need to?
Yeah, for sure. I think that, I'm going to put Naden aside because that's funny.
Obviously.
But
You threw him under the bus.
yeah, exactly. So if there's someone that that could go wrong that we think is going well, it'd probably be Jaime into the Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights have been a real fly on the ointment for us this weekend. None of us really got a ton of practice into them because we wrote them off pretty early. And as a result of that, a lot of us are like, I think I know what I'm doing. He also took Fixed, which I think is the right call. He took Teleport Homers after I've been talking to people about taking Teleport Homers all weekend, and he's the first one to take me up on it. So
And what's the
it's
other
kind of
one?
my fault.
Bring it down?
And bring it down, of course. So if he's able to pull that off, it'll be awesome. If it's not, it's a little bit my fault, but we'll see
blame
what
you.
he can do. Absolutely. Yeah.
We'll take your blame on air, actually. Just so everybody knows, Tyler takes responsibility if Fix doesn't work in this scenario for Jaime.
He's going to get a 20 on Bring It Down, so he'll be okay.
Okay.
We'll see.
Is there one that Team Sweden is worried about at all?
And a specific one, you mean? No, I'm kidding. No, actually, no one really specific. No.
Okay. Is there one that you want to see flip, or you're worried might flip against Sweden?
I mean, it's like you always say, Eldar are there to take 20-0. When they don't, it's terrible.
So, what are you? I mean, obviously you want to win. What is the win actually granting you? Like, what is the meaning of the win? If you win this, do you automatically win the tournament? Or
like in terms
Yeah.
of numbers. So here's
What does
the
it translate?
situation
Yes.
right now. 'Cause we've
Yeah.
done all the math. Our goal for this round is not a win. Obviously, we'd like a win, but in particular, we'd like a 98. That is our goalpost. If we hit 98 points, if my math is correct, then as long as England pulls off a draw into Poland, we will win the tournament. If Poland wins, there's no amount of points in the world that matters to us. And if Poland wins, or Poland draws and we get less than a 98, it's going to come down to battle points, which will be real spicy. If Poland wins and we get exactly a 97, Poland draws and we get a 97 and they draw on the, like there's a lot of scheduling that can happen.
Exactly.
Poland has the tiebreaker on us, is what I'm trying to say, in case it comes down to a dead tie on battle points, because they did beat us 81-79 in our particular pairing. So that's the goal, is a 98. Coming up with less than that is no longer, we're out of control of that situation. So, I hate to say this, but 98 for us and go England.
What's your situation then?
I mean, I agree with Tyler. If we want to win, England needs to beat Poland. But not by that much, hopefully, because then we need to beat USA by more.
Exactly.
And obviously, we need to win this one as well.
Yeah,
So that's the goal thing. But there are other podium places which are okay, I guess, if you're a loser.
They
Man,
just
that's
don't
a
give you.
very, if you're not first, you're last approach to life,
Exactly.
which I appreciate and approve of from a country that's not the United States.
So, once we release you, let me
Into the wild.
I was going to say unleash.
Okay.
Basically.
One of those. What will your roles be now? So you go back to your teams and what?
So my primary responsibility is it is difficult for players to be getting pinged all the time asking, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? So a lot of us more faction specialist players have been assigned to tables to say, oh, I can read this board state well. I can read the Orc GSC matchup really well. I played it 100 times. And I can report back, hey, it's going well. It's going poorly. They're doing this. They're doing that. That's my goal, is to keep our central HQ informed to see where we might need to push if that matchup starts trending not as good as we're hoping it for. Same goes for the Tyranids in the Eldar matchup, though that one's a little easier to read. You count the number of monsters on the table and divide.
Yeah.
That
So,
one's a little
but does that also mean that you will be sending people over here to see how Poland versus England is
Oh,
doing, or it's not
I mean,
that
at the end of the
interesting?
day, we have no control over the situation. So, I came through and scouted, and I like Poland's pairings more than I like England's. So I don't love that, but there's nothing I can do about that. There's something I can do about my team. So that's what we're going to focus on for now.
Last year I was the only coach, so I got stress eczema and almost died. Now we have several people, so now I'm the head coach, so I don't actually have to do that much. I know the other guys around. Your table coach, how's it going? And then mostly gather everyone, provide the morale, and go around and insult other countries.
So what is the morale boosting that we're going to see for Team Sweden this year?
It's called Bästa droppar. It's a very nice Swedish liquor.
I guess
Well, now
fuel.
I'm jealous. Now I want to play for Team Sweden.
All right. Lads, I think we are going to, as I said, release you so that you can do your duties. And then I guess we are going to wrap this whole thing.
It's going to be the last time that you're going to see us.
And then we are going to come back in about 2 hours, maybe 3.
Come to hear you.
Yeah, to give our viewers the latest on the round. It's going to be really tense. It's going to be really interesting because anything can happen right now. So we will try to get Typhus to run around the room again to get the scores or some indications, some predictions and estimations where the scores could go. So stay with us, tune in 3 hours, and then you will get the latest information on what's going on.
You can watch our Mad Dash Scramble. So thank you both for
you so
coming
much for
over
having
and spending time with us.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much.
You are free.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you very much. Take care, y'all.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.